renacentistas, porque podemos ver en un ángel que es más bien de la época renacentista, y también podemos ver la figura de otro ángel.
My name is Rita Risco. I am a volunteer at the Dali as a docent. I graduated in the class of 1983, and my teacher was John Croft. I come from a family where education has always been very important. Both of my parents were physicians, and they always installed on me to be educated. I have always loved arts, so I got involved with wanting to be a docent in the museum because I enjoy learning, and it was a good opportunity to start learning about something that I did not know too much about it.
Esta forma es como Dalí percibe que se veía la luz cuando él pintaba, Velázquez.
I have been a teacher for 35 years in Pinellas County. I have taught in middle school for only a couple of years, but the last years of my career, I have been in high school teaching in the IB program, which was an inspiration for me because it teaches you to be global. It teaches you the importance of acquiring a second language. I come from a Hispanic family, and I have lived in Florida. By then, I had lived a good 20-some years. And to me, that Dalí was coming to St. Petersburg, Florida, which is a small city, was amazing. I remember that when I was in high school, I have seen a picture of the melting watches, and that always attracted me. But by then, I didn't know how much I was going to be learning about Dalí, which became a new passion for me.
Su familia era una familia acomodada, donde él desde niño pues tuvo los privilegios de una familia.
I am originally from Cuba, but in my father's side, his mother was from Catalunya, Girona, Lloret del Mar, which is very close to Cadaqués. I happen to have the same name as my grandmother. Her name was Rita Espinet Vilá. And as a child, I did not know her very well because she died when I was very young, but through my childhood, I remember my family always telling me how much I looked like my grandmother. And my father always told me that her mother used to sing to him in Catalan. So I always loved that idea that she was not only Cuban, she was Catalonian. So that, and being Dalí from the same region, piqued my interest double times. You know, the art, Dalí, the Hispanic heritage, my grandmother. The moment I walked into the museum and I met Mr. and Mrs. Morse, especially Eleanor Morse, and I saw the devotion, I saw how interested they were, and I listened to them talking. I thought to myself, there's more to him than just that figure that likes to call attention. And my interest was piqued. So I became a volunteer at the store for a little while. Then I heard about the second class. So I joined, and John Croft taught that class. I was fascinated with the class. I learned a lot that I had never learned about art. And then, of course, the years have passed. And through the years, being able to travel, being able to visit museums, it has put the whole picture together for me. To me, it's a joy, like when I was in the Reina Sofia and I saw some other paintings that were Dalí that we don't have in the gallery, and you can put the whole picture together. And then you go to museums where you see the surrealist, Magritte, and you see Max Ernst, and you say, oh, no wonder, you see Miro. So your education never ends.
Por la galería vamos a ver distintas impresiones de Dalí.
I have changed completely in some of the biases that I had about Dalí, and one of them has been that I admire him for being such an autodidact person. He taught himself. He was interested in philosophy. He was interested in science. He was interested in the math. He was, like, to me, like a Pandora box.
Podemos observar la figura de un hombre con la cabeza baja. Como dije, Dalí y su padre pasaron por una época donde se distanciaron y nunca más se volvieron a unirse. Fue una relación que se rompió.
Mrs. Morse was very important in orchestrating that. She was for the Spanish tours. So to be able to come to the museum and see Mrs. Morse, who was a wonderful lady, very gentle, and she had a sense of humor. and she could converse in French and she would talk to me in Spanish. I felt that she was a visionary, that in the 80s, we were not so much into the globalization as we are today, especially at the beginning where there were people coming from Spain. The mayor of Figueras came to visit, and I was asked to take them to lunch. So another time, a group of people that were filming. And to me, I love Spain. I love that area. I love the way they talk. And to me, to spend a lunch hour with people that were telling me stories, it was fascinating. And Mrs. Morse always procured that. They had the ex-governor of Puerto Rico who came, and I was asked to give that tour. Another time, they had the cousin, Montserrat Dalí, who also came to the museum, and I was part of the tour that gave it to her in Spanish. Montserrat was a character. She must have been in her 70s when I met her. She was short and very, very, like energetic. And she had an entourage of people that came with her from Cadaqués or from Figueras. And I remember that I was asked to give her a tour of our collection. Well, you can imagine that I felt a little funny going. However, I always felt that if you give a tour of what you know, maybe it's something that she doesn't. So I started giving her my speech, and we got to one of the paintings, and I mentioned that it was Dalí's sister. And she got very, very feisty. That's not true. That was me. Dalí painted me because he and I were very close, and that was me, not her sister. And I went, okay, thank you. You know, you taught me something.
Para mí es interesante que en casi todas estas pinturas existe la figura de un padre con un niño.
The relationship of Dalí with his family, especially with the mother, is very Spanish. The concept of having a boy in the family, it's very important. The overprotection of a mother towards a son. The son is king in a Hispanic society. I'm sure it's in others too, but it's particular in Spain. And how the mother nurtured him, how the mother was always telling him to be careful, not to get cold. All of that had to have an impact in Dalí's development personality, besides his genius and his antics. Also, the marriage of the father with the aunt, that was very normal in Spanish life, because in the family, the oldest married, and the youngest always stay home, and the parents would not like her to marry, so she will take care of them when they got older. So it just makes sense. When you look at Dalí and the portrait of his dead brother, and all the background of his brother dying, and Dalí never being able to be the first child, he was always the second child. So with Dalí's having a dead brother, and death is very important in the culture. The dressing dark forever when you lose a husband or a child, mourning, how the funerals were conducted. Even if we cross to Mexico and see how they celebrate the Day of the Death, we have a Day of the Death in the calendar, November. So all of that had to have impacted Dalí. The feud between Dalí and his son, Gala, had a lot to do with this. Here comes a foreigner with all her background, and the father is horrified with this situation. Dalí does not help, because Dalí, being Dalí, does these other comments. So that didn't surprise me, that the father disinherited him. I studied literature. My master was in Spanish and Latin American literature. And of course, when I had the opportunity to study the generation of 27, that was part of Dalí's. And when you learn Dalí or you study Dalí, you hear about Lorca. Well, I study Lorca. I study literature. My master was in Spanish and Latin American literature. And when you look at the symbols that Dalí uses in his paintings, when you read Lorca and you see the images that Lorca brings, the moon, the stars, the knife, the olive, all of these, when you see it and you see different things in Dalí painting, you can associate. Velázquez is also a very important part of the legacy of Spain in the culture of Dalí. And Dalí always admired him. And being a painter of the court of the king, Dalí wanted a lot to be like Velázquez. He painted Las Meninas. Therefore, he uses the mustache to resemble Velázquez. At the same time, he said one time that it was like a wall to protect him from people for his inner soul. The Dali Museum is a jewel in St. Petersburg. It's that treasure that you want to hunt, and you walk in and you find it. The Dali Museum has first taught me to understand the work of Dalí in a very, how can I say, holistic form from the beginning to at the end. It has motivated me going back to Spain, visiting Spain, which I love to do, meeting new people all the time.
Muchas gracias y hasta la próxima, que espero que algún día nos vamos a ver y que disfruten el resto de la exhibición. Muchas gracias.
So it's something that gives me life. It makes me want to keep doing it. So I think it's very important to continue to come here and keep giving tours as long as people want me. So I like it.